Okay, so I'm going to briefly set this up because it's been a while since you and I have had something to share. And I want to underscore again for people that like when we get together, Dave and I are not cut out and don't have the time and the bandwidth to put something out there every week because we think you need to hear something from us. But when we do, be assured that there's something tangible behind it, and this is one of those days. Um, with that, I'm going to hand it over to Dave because the idea of, we've heard the term mass landings over, the last, I don't know, call them years, however you want to measure that. And Dave and I kind of put it in its place, but dismissed it. Right now, it's hard to dismiss the amount of activity that's being reported and being recorded. And it's from that perspective that we're going to begin to share today. So first, I want Dave to kind of set the stage for what's been going on in his realm, and then we'll share what you contributed to us. And then I'll talk further on somebody on the East Coast who got triggered like in May, and we'll share what she has seen in the last 2 days. So, Dave, help me out, pal.
Wow. Welcome back. And hello, everybody. Right. It's like there's no contrivance because shit happens and you got to just sort of get it out there as soon as it happens while things are fresh. And so really quickly, let's just have let's have a thought about peace and love and rain, and send it to all these wildfires burning around Southern California. And think about all the little critters, the skunks and the raccoons and the field mice and the birds, not just some millionaire's particle board mansion. So just want to put it out there to the animals and to Gaia to heal. And let's send some rain and some love and some healing to the fires around Southern California. Let's get those fires to go ahead and shut themselves down now. It's time for those fires to stop. So if we could just think about that thought just for a split second, you'll help that happen. So I'm going to start just a little bit talking about things that you and I have been going over for years now, which is the trip 2017 with Kim Jim. And if you guys remember, when he pulled me up into his ship and then showed me the underworkings of how the craft works and how the direction and the thrust and all sorts of things were controlled magnetically and gravitationally, not electromagnetically. It was a gravitational magnetic drive. And he showed me the magnets that were hanging from the bottom of the midships and all that stuff. And then he took me up that railing, that like escalator with the blue light handles, boom, got up to midships. He's off the blue platform that everyone moves around on when you're traveling through the ship because it's so big. And there's always a handrail to hold, but it's made out of plasma. Anyways, he gets down first, quite agile, of course, and then he helps me off. And that's where Kim Jim said, David, I love you very much. And I know you're going to have a wonderful time. This is Erom, who will take you to Weimar. And I will see you in 2 years' time. And so, January 7th, 2019, he showed up. And then on January 7th, 2021, he showed up. And then in 2023, which would have been our 4th anniversary, we ended up sharing those really beautiful giant ship photographs I took from my courtyard. But it was Kim Jim, and it wasn't Kim Jim, it was Toth, and they were also late. They were supposed to see me on January 7th. So, of course, I was going out of my balcony like Will and I did back in 2017 every night saying, where are you? You're supposed to be here. You wouldn't believe how heartbroken and crushed I was that his promise was broken, right? But then on February 2nd, those big ships came in real early in the morning. And it was a beautiful spring day. And so we shared those ships on your show. And Toph said, hey, Kim Jim's really busy with the Saturn platform. There's all of this, and this going on. Everything's going to be fine, blah, 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 blah. And we had a nice little quick chat. And that was telepathic from me to the ship. He didn't, materialize in the house. But then you and I had discussed, I also told, well, Vivian knows, and Jimmy Blanchette probably knows, that, oh, gee, it's January 7th, 2025. This is my 5th visit. Kim Jim's going to show up. And damn, sure enough, he sure did. He showed up right over my house, over the same green trees in our courtyard that line the street. And there was nobody out. Everybody was indoors because of the fires. And of course, the air was fresh for a few moments. And then the wind was blowing in from Ontario and Pomona and Whittier. So that was a clean alleyway of Santa Ana winds that came in over Hermosa and the whole South Bay, including Torrance and Hawthorne and Inglewood. And it cleared the air. And so we had lovely fresh air. And so it was at that moment I chose to just go outside and go for a walk. And the ship showed up. I got some film footage of it, but then I got some really fantastic photos, which I immediately shared with you. And it was almost like so wild. Okay, so I get my messages pretty quick through CLPF, and I know what they are immediately because I've already been programmed to receive this information that way. And so it's like, oh, okay. And he said right off the bat, he said, hello, it's nice to see you. I'm not coming down to hold you, but here I am. And he says, so the first message I have for you is to get ready, David, you and your family. And of course, family immediately is tribe. So I just went, okay. And then he flashed me some other messages, which are more personal. So I'm not really going to share them. But then he stuck around for a bit. He changed the attitude of the ship because you see the top of the trees. And
Should we
so,
share the pictures now while you talk about it?
yeah, we could, but, just before put the one on where he's standing upright. Because this is, if you guys remember, this is how he came down to me in 2017 was this gigantic craft lowered straight down this way. And it was a lot like the movie Prometheus at the very beginning where, they've got that Ridley Scott's got that massive, beautiful ovular ship in the atmosphere. Yeah, that's it. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah. Well, just point out, people see the tree line, so get some
Yeah, that's above the
perspective.
trees. There we go. Bingo. That's perfect right there. So that's Kim Jim's ship. And so it was just such a treat because that's how he arrives when he comes into the atmosphere. It's straight down. The normal orientation for the inside of that craft is sideways, and this is where the ship turns. And if you want to expand on that a bit, you see? So the attitude and the whole adjustment of the way the ship starts to change, and then it goes into this, which is the normal attitude for any of the ships that come to Earth. And so you guys can see how absolutely fabulously huge the ship is. This thing is the size of 3 aircraft carrier. And it's just such a beautiful, wonderful thing to experience when the big ship comes in. And we also have photographs of this at 5 a.m. from February 2nd, 2 years ago. And there's the JPEG proof. That's the time I took the photograph. And I always include these when I share these with important friends because it helps you guys, in case anyone wants to get on your show and say something stupid, then you can say, no, he's included the JPEG, so get a fucking life. Anyways, this was just such a magical experience. Part of this is really interesting. What I've done is I've filter adjusted for the light and the temperature of the craft, just so you guys understand. It helps me get some geometry. So if you just expand on this picture and enlarge that just a tiny bit, perfect. All right, so what you see here is the ship, It's almost like the Millennium Falcon, and I've heard this from other contactee that the ship that got them was almost exactly like the Millennium Falcon. This one's got a, if you look to the right, it has a nice rectangular shape, but then on the bottom it's kind of lumpy. The top is rather smooth, and then the other side has a very round pointed end. So this is basically the propulsion system is on the far right where it's square, and then the front of the ship is rounded, because if you look at the other photos, the ship is unmistakably round. That's a really good one. This is where I blew it right up and I changed the ability to see the plasma ring around it. And
That was my question. Is that the energy signature of it in that blue photo of hers?
Yeah, so go back to that one or go to the last one, because the last one is digitally enhanced better. There you go. Now let's blow that up quite a bit. There you go. All right, you see all those dark blue dots around that?
Yes.
All right, so what I did was I digitized this, but I counted and accounted for the pixelation. And so definitely the flat square part on the right-hand side is not a pixel anomaly. And a lot of the darker parts that you're seeing around that plasma field, you see right above this white ship is the bottom plasma field, and then the upper plasma field in turquoise. As you go out past those dark spots, now those dark spots are energy vacuums or energy bubbles. And what they do is they dash about the outside of the ship because it's part of the form of their magnetic drive. And it has something to do with adjusting the gravitation as the ship is moving or hovering. And those things fly around like crazy, because I've got some other photographs taken within seconds of this, and those dark spots have moved to another location, but they're still at that attitude. Now, just around all of it, you can see that big plasma exchange between the atmosphere and the light. And then you can also just see the normal space around it. So it's a really amazing drive, and it's some form of gravitationally intrinsic plasma that works through magnetism. It's part of their secret of technology that they don't want to share with us, and it's probably a good idea. I have something to, say as far as folding time or bending space. This is the kind of craft that you want for that. These big ships are the ones that shoot off and get to Andromeda in a month or two. All right, so this is a big deal. When you're flying 300 million light years, a ship like this, it will take it a couple of weeks, I guarantee it. So it's just the way they have their own special technology. I think Vivian was somebody that we need to talk to in the future to talk about Arcturus technology and space flight. And she knows quite a bit about it, but she never talks about it. And it's because she's, her people probably don't want to reveal technology like Kim Jims has to me. Telemetry is a navigation program. It's not necessarily a propulsion program, but the propulsion is being given to us. And if you just blow this up one more time so that we can get a close look at those dark blue dots, these gravitational bubbles are like power ampules, and they zip around the ship very erratically, and they have something to do with balancing the interior gravitation of the ship. When the big ship comes down, it's pointing straight down. That's flat areas up on top, and the round point is pointing at the Earth. When they change their attitude, those dark blue dots will fly around it, and it has something to do with stabilizing the people on the interior of the ship so that you don't feel like you're taking a nosedive, because dynamically in any craft you're really affected by the gravitation from a planet, and that will cause some discomfort in an astronaut. If you took the ISS and did a nosedive into Earth, you know what I meant. It's like a horrible roller coaster. So there's something about the gravitational system that they have in place which allows the passengers to float freely as the ship changes its adjustment. And remember that strange chair that Weimer put me in, that green energy tube that he folded all around me? That wasn't attached to the floor. It floated in position in front of the window. And when I got sat into it, I was floating inside the chair. It was like a beautiful lawn chair that was sort of upright. So it's something to do with that technology where the chair doesn't move, but the ship can spin around it and nobody feels it. You know, it's just a trip.
Some kind of
So
space gyro system.
yeah, so the message, the first message, he says, David, you know, get ready, and your family, get ready. And then Lowell and I had a lively conversation in the green room about observation and perception. You know, about mass landings and all the hoo-ha behind that. I think people have to get that idea out of their head, don't you? That a mass landing doesn't mean 7,000 ships showing up at Times Square.
Yes,
Because
that, and I do want you to speak on exactly what you said in the green room a moment ago. Um, that you and I had, when we heard that term, dismissed it for its ridiculousness. Now, we still need to put that into perspective, because you and I just talked about something that hovered over us not that long ago. And I'm going to show you another something here shortly, but help put it into perspective, because this shit's real. We're not here talking about some Gene Roddenberry inspired thing that we've come up with and we're trying to get y'all on board. It's not us that is happening. We just happen to be in a position where people that have had similar experiences are reaching out to us for some greater understanding. And so Dave and I are at the crossroads of a lot of other people having these same situations and reporting it accordingly. So put this into perspective on exactly what you were telling me when we thought about the idea of mass landings.
right, so a mass landing isn't, you know, the big hoo-ha, and that's, you know, part of the paradigm of the fear box and the tic tac thinkers, is that that's not how the shit happens. How it happens, I'll tell you right now, is like yesterday there was 7 in Brazil, there was 8 in Chile, there was 4 in Argentina, there was over 40 over the last 7 days in South Africa. There was 17 in West Germany last night. There was over 50 in the UK yesterday. All right, so in my world, in my perspective, as I step out of the 3D box and I visualize higher mathematics in dimensional shapes, you know, whether it's Boolean algebra or whether it's interdimensional, you know, formula, I step out of the 3D and I look at the Earth and I think, oh, fuck, this is a mass landing. It's happening right now. The mass landing is happening right now all over the world. Thousands of beings are being engaged in communicating with human beings, whether it's CLPF or whether they come down and actually talk to you. It's going on now. This is it. I mean, this is the mass landing. It isn't, you know, what they've been telling you guys. It isn't the bullshit of, oh yeah, there's going to be 50 ships landing on Washington. That's crap. That's not how it happens. It's just that they're waking more and more and more people up, and they know it's necessary. And all of us who have been communicated with by them have been begging them to come down and do this. We've been begging them for years, saying, you know, please get off the pot, please pick the time, please come down, because we are sick to death of predicting that you're coming down, because we've got their attention now, so you need to basically shit or get off the pot. And so they're bloody doing it, and it's fabulous. And if you start scratching around paying attention, you'll start seeing all these sites. Now it's very, very difficult right now on Google or any of the other search engines, including DuckDuckGo. You know, they tell you that one's free of malfeasance, but it isn't. They're all sequestered by the Tic Tac box people. So, but the thing is that it's really difficult to find free speech podcasts in West Germany. It's really difficult to log on to Free Radio Poland and listen to young people talking about their experiences with UFOs right now. But if you just really work at it, you'll start to find these international European websites that are reporting on all these wonderful engagements that are going on all over the world. And the message is the same one I've been talking about: hope, compassion, and forgiveness, and love your mama. And so they're getting the same message everywhere. And what they're also doing for people is getting them to calm down. I think one of the interesting things when you see a ship like Kim Jim's came back to me just a few days ago on the 7th on our anniversary. When you see your ship, they'll communicate with you from that ship in the way that's designed for you. My experience isn't your experience. Your genetics are different than mine. The electrostasis is different than mine. Your electromagnetic radiation, your EMR, your psychic intuitiveness, your third eye, your fourth leg, and your 17th earlobe. It's all different. So when they come to me, it's because they're the ones that I called out to, or they're my family and I didn't know. And then, so your experience is going to be highly different. But because I've been doing this so long and having so much contact with them, they're family. And I prefer actually, you guys, knowing what I know about society right now and where we really need to save people and save the planet, it's like I really enjoy being with them more. I said, there's just such a joke about the 3D paradigm that, my friends above have saved me on every level. And, that's a serious, solemn, beautiful fucking thing. I look at the shit show that's going on now with politicians and power plays and war and bombs and yada yada. They're still selling the same old paradigm that worked in the 40s, and that's why everybody could afford a house in the 50s. But we've all been broke since 1960. So so it's funny. It's just a shit show. So they come to me to reassure me that everything's fine.
Mhm.
And so when Kim Jim's the primary message that he wanted me to share with you, Lowell, and with our friends is get ready
Yes.
and
Well,
family. And
here's a
so,
good place
you
for
know,
me to kind of connect the dots for others, because what Dave's set the table in regard to is the stuff that's in the sky and the narratives that everybody else is still trying to point to and prove that, oh yeah, that stuff is up there. Believe me, Dave and I are 15 steps ahead of the rest of you. We know they're there. We're trying to show you examples of it. So there's more of that, like Dave just illustrated how much had been seen on different parts of the planet. Now we get to the part that I'm more interested in, and we'll get to Anne's case now. Anne was somebody who reached out after she heard the Ethereal Edge Girls and has had some unusual experiences since May. And this has been accelerating for her. Her family doesn't vibrate this way, so she's got no one else to share it with. But she's documented some of the things that she talked about. And to make a long story short, I want to show you what she sent me that she captured over the last few days, similar to what Dave has shown us. Oh, let's see. I don't know why I can't see them all. Hang on, stick with me for a second here.
well, that's all good. It'll pop up. In the meantime, I just want to mention that I don't know if I'm that far ahead of anybody else. I just know that my experience is my experience, and that they asked if I wanted to hang out with them. I had to go along with the program.
Yeah.
So I'm not really going to say I'm like, oof, 11 years ahead of somebody. But I will say is that you get to a certain point, and I think this happens to all of us. You get to a certain point where you know that communication is mandatory pretty much at this time. You just want to be straight with everybody. Okay, Lowell, you go for it, man. Let's see it.
Well, I'm disappointed. There's a couple of little MPEG files that apparently I can't pull up and show here, because if you did, you'd see this thing flashing. She sent me 3 files. The first one, clearly she was sitting back further than this in her room, and this is what she's seeing from her perspective. The next image is a little more video that she tried to zoom in on, and then she took this still. So I want you to tell me, is that inside the window or
That's
outside the
exactly
window?
that's inside, and this is exactly what Kim Jim does with me. You've put up photographs for me last time we were talking years ago about how he's a blue glowing light that comes through the window. This is exactly Okay, so this is a typical Tauran, everybody. This is how the people of Taurus, the beings in the fourth dimension of Taurus, come into your life, man. And this is brilliant. They are a beautiful, beautiful, angelic blue, sparkling star. And they come
Yeah.
right through the glass. And, I know my balcony door was left open, but after they put a smock on me, I was knocked out, and then I woke up again on the beach. I don't know how they got me out of my house, because that's how they get in.
Yeah.
They come right through the glass. And it's funny, they'll come through a wall too, but their light's a little different. You see more of a sphere when they come through the wall. This is beautiful. Yeah, it's definitely the real deal. I'll tell you right
She's
now,
on
that's
the
exactly what I see.
she's on the East Coast. So mind you, again, when I heard Dave West Coast and East Coast, and then she had sent me, hang on just a second. Stop. There's one other item here that at least I can pull up.
That's cool.
She sent me this yesterday. So if you read it, she was on her way home from her dog training class and she was told to, kind of pull over. These are the files I can't show, but she's got 30 seconds of some craft above a cloud that blinks a few times and then
Yep,
disappears.
yep, yep, yep.
And
I get
then
it.
reappears.
Yeah,
And
let me
then
just
it drops, and so from behind the cloud, it appears and disappears. My point is, here we are, gang. We've been talking about this for a while, and I'm not here to, Dave and I are lining up to go, nah, 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 nah. We told you this 2 years ago, and we were starting to bring you our own evidence.
hilarious.
Here
That's
is everybody
hilarious.
else sending us their evidence. So there's a whole nother side of me that says right after the first of the year, the idea of disclosure is going to reach a whole new level. And I believe that Dave and I are being pressed into service.
Yeah, it's just mandatory. It's just part of you. You just got to get it right. You just have to be a really straight person all the time, and be loving and kind, no matter what. Obviously, you don't want to do it to your detriment or your family's detriment, but bloody hell, it's the only way to be. And it's a full-time job, and it's fun as fuck. I can't imagine being corrupt or bent or screwing people over. And that's part of the nicest thing about this community, is that we all have a really high sort of ladder where we set ourselves to be. It's like a rung. And I'm always reaching for the next rung, no matter how hard it is to just be straight with everybody all the time. And I'll tell you what, being in this pie shop for 12 years almost now, I've had some amazing star children just walk in, young couples and young people, and 15 to 55, and just coming in and just being full of life. And it's been a joy. Her experience, man, that blue light is exactly the way Kim Jim comes in. And it's an honor system. I have to tell you, your friend must be doing all the right shit too, because I really lucked out when I got them to show up in my life full time. And when he said, this is a serious thing, I've told you all this stuff about human beings and how you behave and how to stop that behavior. Do you want to go further with this? Because if you do, it's a full-time job.
I'm
And
glad that you underscored that, because there is
wow,
something too. We never put ourselves out there as we were special any more than anybody else, but
right.
somehow our vibration reached the level where this
Oh,
connects with us, and we're finding others that do too now.
I'm guaranteeing it. I mean, this is why the people that are trying to control the narrative, whether they're not trying or not, they're still joining the wrong party. You go to Contact, or you watch one of these, alleged series or shows on TV. It is it's like a cartoon reality. And not one of them ever goes, I see ships all the time. They love me. I love them. And the message is love,
Right.
And so, it's all fucking crap. And it's just such a joke. And so this is why they show up all the time, because they know I'm really straight with them. I think it has this basal thing where you have a level of morality that you tune yourself to, so that no, you're going to fight for the planet. No, you're going to fight for those missing children. No, you're going to do all the right things all the time, because what the fuck else are you going to do?
Yeah,
You know?
that's quite true.
And so it's like, it's such an honor to be in that roll call. It's like, it's like the love warriors. It's like we're the Marines, man.
You know, while we stay in our lanes and talk about what we've experienced and what we know, and we leave everything else alone, send love and light off to all of that, look how much more is sent our way. The next level of awareness
Oh,
is set for us.
you know, and that's exactly right. When you're straight all the time, the ships show up. You know, I get these beautiful comments from your members of your community that are like, oh, you know, I really wish I could get a ship to show up. And it's like, you can just go out and cry. I mean, don't you just want to fucking have a good cry of all this crap that's going on? Let's go out and cry to them, because we're connected. They're like, we're children, and they're brothers and sisters and mothers and grandparents that live in the sky. So let it go.
Yeah.
And then they'll come down. It's no fucking mystery. The more you're honest with yourself and you release all that pain. I've been talking about transmuting pain ever since I jumped on the stage. Let that shit go through you. Thank it as a lesson and be strong for it. But that's not who you are. You're not angry and painful. You cried that out. You know, so it's the simple truth about finding your roots is, once you start to realize that you can love yourself and then have love like you wouldn't believe come from all around you all the time. That's why our thoughts are things. That's why when I think about the fires going out, they're starting to go out. You know, I thought about the wind stopping, and this morning the wind stopped.
Yeah. People might sit back and not connect with that idea, but once you do, you just know. And I
I
can't
know.
explain how I know, I just do. And
Yeah.
when conditions change over time, now you know what you do, regardless of what anybody else thinks.
And that's right. And God bless you for saying that, because you triggered me to just bring that up again. That the very first thing I was saying this morning when we were having our discussion before we hopped on was knowing and believing. And you know, I know absolutely that I had an effect on putting the fires out and slowing them down, because I see them diminishing. I know that I had an effect on the wind because I asked the wind to please stop blowing. So I know I had an effect on it. And if not, I maybe me and 50 other people in the South Bay, and we don't know each other, but we know we're thinking the right thing at the right time.
Collective intent is very strong and powerful.
And so when we all believe in the same thing, which is love and compassion and hope,
that's what occupies the space.
they'll never stop us now.
Right.
Because we are the inheritors. They need to pay attention to us. Like we were saying the last time we had a chuckle. We're the fucking new pharaohs, and all we're bringing is love and compassion.
Right.
And you better listen to us.
Yeah. Well, other than, I really want to highlight, because I didn't get a chance to during the narrative, the CLPT, CLPF part of all of this, because Dave, bless his heart, taught me what that stuff was long ago. And if you don't remember, go back in my channel, look for the 4 things that Dave did. And in there, he describes this phenomenon in detail. So the idea that we're seeing ships flash at us, that is a method of communication taking place so that you can begin to embrace what you're receiving. Even Anne yesterday, when she saw this flashing, and all of a sudden she gets these flashes. She gave me a whole list of things that came into her mind. And I'm like, oh my God, she's getting downloads, and she had to have the capacity to understand that. So help me fill in the gaps a little bit for everybody again.
Yeah. Definitely, Lowell, put her and I together in front of a camera so we can have a laugh. Yeah. Right? Yes. Because that's what the Taurans do. the Galactic Council of Light and the Galactic Council of Scientists, they'll send that light in. That's not a telomere. That's him himself showing up, or her herself showing up. It might be a girl, but that's how the Taurans do it. And, you know, it's so wonderful to see the exact same fucking thing. You have no idea how that validates the experience for me, because I have never seen another photo except like the ones I've taken of Kim Jim, where he's gone from that light shape into more of a form. You know, it's just building my own structure and my own collection, my own database that I don't share with anybody. And it's just one more solid piece of evidence. And it's funny too, because it's an important thing that we document our memories. And so by coming out in the open, where anybody on the planet should be able to access the conversation we're having, coming out in the open and discussing this is not something to fear.
No.
You're a fucking warrior, and you get out there and you share love and hope and compassion, and be friendly to the animals on the planet. And by all means, go out into your backyard, look at the sky, whether the stars are out or not, and pour your heart out and say, please come into my life, because all I want is love. And you'll get your request.
That's
for
right.
sure. For sure. So I can't wait to see you and her, you know, in 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, whenever she's got some time and you got some time.
You know, I'm
Woo.
getting a interest to remember when we started out, and you and I would just hop on the Zoom platform, and when people showed up, hey, there's 100 seats, come and occupy them. It looks like there's interest building in that again. So we should pick maybe Saturday mornings, or a time that we'll just do it. It'll always be recorded, but people want to engage with us. And so I think that there's an audience that wants to do that again. It won't be 3 or 4 people in the room anymore.
You know, I was thinking that too, but you know who's really interesting guy is, you know, Brad M. He's a
Yes.
really interesting guy. And Brad sees the whole thing too. And whether he's ever come forward to say he's been contacted and has a relationship, that doesn't fucking matter, because I know he's switched on and he sees through all the bullshit. But it'd be nice to get some other people too, some of the gals that we know that are tribe members of your community, and get 4 or 5 or 6 or 8 of them up so that we can have a chat.
Well, I
mean,
think they all are.
Dude, we need to do a chat stream.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to do a chat stream with some of your members. I mean, I've been asking for this a few years ago and a couple times last year. Come on, you guys, come out here and let's have a chitty chat. It'd be a hoot. But this whole blue light, that was very meaningful for me. And I hope you guys understand that the difference in between believing and knowing is that it's important first for you to believe. And once you finally do believe, and that belief is so strong that nothing can shatter it, then you know.
Yeah.
And
well,
when you know,
synchronicities show up, and then you know. Yeah.
When you know, then you don't even question it anymore. You just go, this is the way this will be. Yeah. And the change occurs. So God bless all of you. And always a fun opportunity to catch up when shit's important. Thank God there was finally a message from heaven and from our friends and all this stuff, and for your friend and her blue light, and knowing, and using our discernment, right? And that's all that anybody can ask, is do your best every day, and far out. Peace.
Thanks for your time, Dave. See you later, buddy.
Later on, man.